Christoph, there's only one place to start. That is, of course, the Westfalenstadion or Signal Iduna Park, as it's officially known. Dortmund, the informed team going into this game. Bayern with some injury problems, suspensions to Kimmich, that embarrassing defeat against Saarbrücken, third division side in the DFB Pokal. It was all set up for perhaps a Dortmund win, but no. Things played out very differently. Bayern won 4-0, a Harry Kane hat trick, and Thomas Tuchel in the mood to take on his critics after the final whistle. Shall we start with the on the pitch things? Christoph, were you impressed with Bayern, or was it a case of Dortmund doing a bit of a Dortmund and caving in when it really matters?
No, I was very impressed with Bayern. And I think Leon Goretzka summed it up perfectly, saying, wir haben sie platt gemacht, meaning we
flattened
them or bulldozed them. So if you look at the numbers, for example, expected goals, Dortmund had 1.16 and Bayern 3.74. So that are numbers that you normally see in games when Bayern plays the Bochums and the Darmstadts of the world. And so, yeah, it was convincing almost from the first minute, actually from the second minute when Bayern went 1-0 up after a corner that Dayot Upamecano headed in till the last minute. So, I mean, Dortmund literally didn't have a chance. I mean, technically they had some, but you never had the impression that they could turn around things and were completely overpowered. So very impressive. Or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean they had a few moments, Dortmund, towards the end of the first half, and then the beginning of the second. There was that save from Marco Reus that Manuel Neuer made. There was that big chance from Daniel Mahlen. I think these are the two chances that rack up the XG value. But you're right, Bayern were superior, and if it hadn't been for some sloppy finishing, it could have been an uglier scoreline for Dortmund. What I liked about this Bayern team and this Bayern performance was that it had different layers of dominance. We've come to expect Bayern to play quite of a passive game, playing on the break, and they did that very successfully. And they should have scored more goals on the break. The fourth goal was a classic counter-attacking goal, but they also played well with the ball, both in a defensive way where they controlled and managed the lead by keeping the ball a lot better than they had done in recent weeks, but also the way they combined to find openings. If you think about the third goal, where there was that combination on the right-hand side where they slowly played and then a quick 1-2 and suddenly they break through with Kingsley Coman on the right-hand side. Or the second goal, which felt like a counter-attack because it was one sweeping move with Leon Goretzka running through the middle and then Leroy Sané running past Mats Hummels and then finding the perfect ball, but actually started deep in their own box, where they had lured Dortmund forward and then broke on them almost, even though they never lost possession. So I think Tuchel, and maybe we'll move on to the second battle of the day. I think Tuchel was in the mood for a bit of a I told you so, or a bit of a you underestimated us, you criticized us too bad, because I think he was generally pleased with how his team had played. And it wasn't, in my view, not an attempt to deflect or to change the conversation, but a genuine sense of relief combined, of course, with that anger of all the criticism he had received. But perhaps, Christoph, we should tell our listeners or those who haven't seen some of the clips on social media what exactly transpired before the game and after the game between Tuchel and some of the Sky Germany reporters and experts.
Yeah, So two of the main pundits that work for Sky in Germany are Didi Hamann. People, especially in England, know very well from his time with Liverpool, and of course, the Lothar Matthäus, Germany's record international. He is a pundit for Sky for many years, and both have criticized Bayern, especially after they went out in the cup. You mentioned it in Saarbrücken, to this third division team. And they were saying that there was no development in the team of the team under Tuchel. And they were also suggesting that there might be something wrong between the team and the coach. And obviously, this has angered Thomas Tuchel very much, would be almost underestimated, because he already started commenting on this in his press conference, and where he was before the game in Dortmund on Friday, where he was asked what he would say about this. There is no development in the team and so on, and he was saying, and that was a very, very witty, funny answer. He also didn't see a development with his pundits, and so that was very funny. But he didn't stop there. I think he had made his point at that time. Everybody had laughed. I think it was a very nice counter attack, if you like. But when he came to the table, and there is this infamous Sky table that is put on the sideline of the pitch after the game, where Lothar Matthäus, as the expert, is there. In this case, on Saturday, Julia Simic, who is another expert, a former German international player for the women's team, and Sebastian Hellmann as a host. He was pissed still, and maybe you describe what went on then.
Yeah, I think we have to even go one step back, because in the pre-match analysis for the game, it was all the talk was about Bayern's weakness and Bayern's problems and Dortmund's strengths. So they showed clips of Dortmund's pressing and how well it works, and they showed clips of Bayern's build-up and how badly it worked. And Tuchel already listened to that, or saw some of that, before his first interview on the day, before the kickoff. He also reacted quite badly to that in his first interview, refused to really answer any questions, and said he didn't want to disturb the analysis of Lothar Matthäus in a very sarcastic manner. Then I think things from his perspective are probably worse, because Jan Christian Dresen, the Bayern CEO, also joined the table pre-kickoff, and Sky did a feature where they showed the numbers of Nagelsmann and of Tuchel. And Nagelsmann, I think, having played 3 times the amount of games that Tuchel has played for Bayern, or coached, I should say, had better numbers. And Hellmann's question to Dresen was, why didn't Bayern get a better manager? And Dresen kind of deflected, but I think Tuchel probably heard that as well, and was very, very annoyed after the final whistle, and then said he didn't really want to talk about anything. Again, Lothar has all the answers. Why do you want to discuss things with me? He again talked about this supposed rift between him and the team, which I don't think was actually mentioned by Lothar or Didi, but might have been somebody else, and he maybe got a little bit confused. And then he left the interview prematurely, saying that it was all too much for him, and he left with the fine line, now you have to completely change your tune after we won 4-0 by 180 degrees. Have fun. Goodbye. And there was a nice comic moment where the 3 experts just stood there
and were
and
frozen
didn't
for a
have,
sec.
didn't have the words to fill the air silence, the
What
dead
what
air.
what I was wondering, I mean, obviously, there was an element of Tuchel felt treated unfairly, and I think he has a point. Maybe we can talk about this later, but there is also now there is a lot of interpretation. What does it mean? Is it just an emotional outbreak? Interesting emotional outbreak that takes 2 days or so, or is this kind of politics that he is doing, like the good old Otto Rehagel, building a castle and us against the world, us against the media, us against the expert, and so on. What's your interpretation? What is this all about?
I got the sense that there wasn't really that much of a strategy or calculation behind this. I don't think it was an attempt to build the us against them mentality. Maybe, but it didn't feel like that to me. I think he really felt like many coaches do, but rarely talk about, unfairly judged about Bayern's results, about Bayern's performances. And he made that point, which is, I think it was quite revealing, judged unfairly about the problems that he had to deal with, because Bayern have only had one fully fit centre back going into this game. Dayot Upamecano had to come off after 60 minutes because he wasn't able to play the full 90. Bayern had no fully fit midfielders beyond Leimer and Goretzka, with Kimmich being suspended and then already being a fourth central midfielder in the squad if you overlook Jamal Musiala, who's more of an attacking-minded player. And I think Tuchel felt really annoyed that Bayern's good results this season, where they have picked up as many points now after that win as any Bayern team have since Pep Guardiola's first season in the first 10 games. 3 wins in the Champions League as well, albeit not always convincing. We talked about this on Beer and Honey. I think he was just annoyed and upset that everyone only talks about these problems and how bad Bayern are and all the deficits, and make him out to be one of the problems of the team. And I think he feels that it's just not a reflection of reality, and that he had to make that point very forcefully.
Maybe he should have listened to us. Last week we have with Jonas Hummels, we talked about the pragmatism that Thomas Tuchel has showed over the season so far. I mean, I think he also knows that not all of this, the games of his teams were fantastic, that it was not always fluid football and so on, but that you could see that whatever situation came up, they were able to manage it, apart from this cup game. And this cup game being a typical cup game, and with rotation and not, so Harry Kane didn't play. Maybe he would have come on in extra time or so, but there was no extra time because Saarbrücken scored in the and they they did it very cleverly in the 96th minute, so there were only 1 minute left for Bayern to equalize, and they didn't manage it. So all in all, a very good season for Bayern and Tuchel under very difficult circumstances.
Yeah, so far so good. And if they beat Galatasaray on Wednesday in the Champions League, then they will have qualified for the next round as well. So it's not that bad, considering that they started the season with at least 2 players down. If you think about the lack of options at the back, lack of options in the right back position, lack of options in midfield.